Hey everyone, in this video I am going to share about my 4 years of engineering life, what lessons I learned, what could have been done better, basically everything that I have done my last 4 years of my engineering. So let's start with the beginning. A little bit of story before we start. The year is 2020, right after my 12th standard, the COVID pandemic happened and I was preparing for JEE exam at that time. I was expecting to get into some good college, and GEC was never my aim. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to focus too much on the JEE preparation because I got too much distracted, and it was difficult to focus during the COVID time. So there was another exam called GCET, which I answered, and luckily I got into GEC. I'm really grateful and feel really lucky that I got into one of the best college after IITs and NIT, of course, in Goa. uh, yeah, that's pretty much it. Then comes the first year of my college. I would like to call it the COVID era. The classes were in the online mode only. Initially, I was focusing on the classes, attending everything, trying to be responsive in the classes, but it decreased over time because I realized that there is no point in attending the classes because at the end the exam is going to be online and the first year is only about the common subjects, so I the subjects were not really important to me, like civil engineering or mechanical engineering, etc. So during that time, I started learning about the stock market and reading a lot. I feel really grateful for that free time. Because of that, I think my current life is shaped. So I think I did a pretty good utilization of that time, but it could have been done much better way. So the first year went just like that. There was no too much academic motivation. I only attended the classes just to give the attendance at the end and copied the assignments from my friend, especially the graphics one. I just changed the name and submitted. Never bought that drafter. Never did a single drawing or any mechanical work. I feel really lucky because I didn't have to attend uh, those welding and plumbing kind of workshops, which some seniors told that they were really not difficult but kind of tedious to do it. That pretty much summarized my first year. The second year was more of an hybrid mode. I would like to call this year hybrid hustle, year two. So the classes, this is the first time I went to the college for the actual classes. So classes were in hybrid mode. That is only two or one to three classes were there per week. That too was not for long duration. And I remember my first day in the college very vividly because it was DS practical. Even though I had studied linked list or basic coding concepts in my 11th, 12th, but I wasn't really good enough in it, and I was a bit scared during my first practical because even the ma'am, Marushka ma'am, was really strict. I at least felt during the first class. Luckily, the guy next to me was one of my friend, Bhargava Bhatkuse. Really grateful to that guy because he helped me completely. With the very first day showing me his whole code about the linked list, and I survived because I didn't pay any attention during the online class. I just went there and lucky that he was like next to me, and I managed to do well in the practicals. The exams format was during the third year. Second year was online exams, but it was slightly shifting towards the offline mode. There was some uncertainty, but it turns out the practical was going to be in the offline mode and the exams were in the online mode. So most of the time we answered the exam copying. We used to sit two, three friends together and answer the exams, which was a fun experience in itself. Everyone scored like 9.99 plus SGPA in the first and second year. Again, which is another good thing for me because it helped me to boost my CGPA. More about that later. So the very first practical exam was, I think, DS, and later we realized that most of the class failed because of some glitch in the marking system, because it used to follow the 1617 version, but from our batch it was the 1921, something like that. But still, luckily I managed to clear the exam even with the glitch. I scored the scored decent mark, more than the passing marks. I won't say the best, but somehow I was really lucky. I still remember the code which I got. The one was about stack, and there was some another one which I don't remember right now. Stack one I almost did, except the reversing the stack, which I wasn't really sure about. I just memorized the code back then, and I just hoped that I will get the code which I was comfortable in, and luckily it happened. Something more I would like to share about my second year, or all the years in general, was the travel struggle. As the college was around 30 kilometers away, I and also during this time I couldn't really drive, so I used to go to college by bus. Used to wake up around bus I used to get was around 7:15. I used to get up at 6, go there, and then like 1 hour to 90 minutes of journey. Then while coming back, also most of the time in the bus, but luckily I found another guy during this phase, that is Shwam, and he used to drop me at the ferry along with Harsh, and then we used to like take lift from the ferry to Bicholim, and from Bicholim either bus or another lift. If I was lucky, then I used to get a guy who directly goes to the road which crosses my home. This was another unique experience in itself, asking lift from the strangers, and it was kind of fun. I didn't have to like spend. It used to save a lot of time, though it was a bit of struggle to get the lift sometimes. But it was overall a good experience, except maybe in the rainy seasons because it was not possible to do so. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the second year. Let's move on to my third year. I would like to call this as shifting gears. Here, the classes fully started in the offline mode, and during this time, I wasn't really paying attention to the classes. We only used to study 1 week before exam, and luckily enough, I cleared all my exams in the first attempt. No backs, not even in the practical. I was really lucky in all my practicals, I would say. I got really good codes which I was familiar with, and which I could produce it during the exam without much efforts. By this time, we also went to some of the college trips like the Rajasthan trip or the IIT Bombay, and many hostel trips, and also started playing table tennis with a guy called Cayman. And also during this time, I started enjoying more time in hostel. Even though I didn't choose hostel, I used to spend a lot of time there, and mostly bunking classes and spending time with hostel. Actually in Jain's room or Harsh's room. It was really fun experience. During this time, I took my first like major trip, that was in Rajasthan, also Agra. I had so much fun there. It was a good experience. I don't really have anything to share, but during this time, I didn't have my license, and I realized that it's high time now to learn to drive and get my license. So I think one thing my college did good for me is forced me to get a license, because it was kind of embarrassing to not have a license at the age of 21, 22, whereas all my batchmates had their license. And luckily, I managed to get both my license, both two wheelers and the geared four-wheeler license. And by this time, I started going to college by scooter. Initially, even that was a struggle because we only had one scooter, Activa, and my mom used to use that. So we had to manage the time accordingly. Like I had to drop my mom, then go to the college, then reach back by 4:30. It was a struggle in itself. Also, around this time, we went to the IIT Bombay trip, which was one of the most memorable trips. It was one of my dream college to get into, and I kind of got like 1 week of experience. Not 1 week, I think it was only 3 days, and it was really fun. And also I started playing table tennis during this time. It was just one of my fun activity which I used to do, but I didn't really got chance to do it in my hometown. So college provided that, and really thankful to that. It was really fun waiting till like 7 p.m. in the college to only to play TT. It was really fun. Around this time, uh, so this was the phase where the internship and the placement process started, and I started to realize that I am not really meant for coding. I though I understood it, but I wasn't really able to do it from the scratch. So around this time, I realized that I should start preparing for CAT. It was always there in back of my mind that I want to like prepare for CAT, but I wasn't really serious about it. It would have been better if I had chose if I want to do CAT or I want to sit for placement. I didn't really made up my mind during that time, but it was more tending towards the my CAT preparation. Even though I appeared for all the interviews, or at least most of them, I was able to get clear the first round, usually the written round or the MCQ based round. But in the interviews, I used to mess up because it was always in the back of my mind that I was not good enough in coding and I won't be able to answer. And it happened, but it also the interview experiences taught me a lot. I think it's kind of helped me in my get interviews later on, and I think whatever happened was for good enough, was good, and I don't really have any regrets around that area. One thing I didn't really do well was time management, because mostly I didn't used to attend the classes, and even though I used to go to the college, I used to waste a lot of time and not even have fun during that time. At least I should have had fun or done something productive in the hostel room, which was very much possible. But I failed to do that. So let's move on to my final year. I would like to call it the final lab. So the placement process was already started during this time, and most of the students were getting placed. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do in my life at this point. I was preparing for CAT side by side, preparing for the college interviews or the placement, the DSA, Java, object-oriented programming, database management, everything I used to study, but I always used to mess up during my interviews. So I didn't really manage to secure a placement. But luckily, I was able to get an online internship, which helped me to prepare for the CAT side by side, and it was not that much of a concern. But looking back now, I think if I had an offline internship, then I would have had some kind of corporate experience, which could have helped me. But anyways, I don't really regret it now. It was pretty relaxed time during that phase. And also during the final year, we had to do a project. I, our team was pretty average, and like we used to do all the works last minute. And during this time, I had to visit a college a lot, and also which end up taking my CAT time. Also during this time, I said no to a lot of trips. Initially, primarily because of two reasons. One was my CAT preparation. Second, I didn't really enjoy going on too much trips. It was kind of uncomfortable. And do I regret the decision? Not really, because I had plenty of fun, I believe, and didn't really miss a lot of opportunities. But only thing I regret is I could have done a better CAT preparation during this phase. I didn't really do it and ended up wasting a lot of time during these phases. And luckily enough, we managed to do our project. Everything was last minute based. I didn't really do any coding as such. I mostly made PPTs or the report or the research paper. That too was ChatGPT. Yeah, and of course about ChatGPT. ChatGPT came around, I think, when I was in third year, if I'm not wrong, the starting of the third year, and it has helped me a lot. I don't know how would I have survived without ChatGPT. It has made coding really easy, and thanks to the ChatGPT, I was able to survive in my college years. Yeah, so those were my few. Those were how I spent my 4 years, and like to summarize my journey or the lessons which I learned or the key takeaways would be I should have taken part in more uh, uh, like the committees or the whatever the events that took place, because I didn't really realize that it would add any value. But later on, I realized that if I had some PORs in my resume, then it would have made a better profile and also given me some points to speak during the interviews, which I actually regret not taking part. It would have been a good experience. I would have learned a lot of things, but taking lessons from this, I should take part in. I won't say all, but at least the committees which matter and which will add value to my resume or my profile in general. I should do this during my MBA journey now. Second takeaway would be time management. I didn't really manage my time well. I spent a lot of time just wasting and not even enjoying. If I had at least spent that time enjoying or doing something productive, it would have been much better. At least either in the hostel or even when I was not attending college, I should have done that. And those were the two main takeaways that I want to remember during my MBA journey henceforth, and I think I will manage well. To conclude, I don't really have any regrets. I had pretty much fun my college years, though sometimes the exams were a bit time consuming, but I also had got to learn. I had learned to drive. I had learned have fun with my friends. I started playing table tennis, and yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. And I will probably do another video on things that I should keep in mind during my MBA journey. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And I would see you next time. Bye.